Why could we say that Donders and Ebbinghaus were cognitive psychologists, even though in the 19th century there was no field called psychology?
Well, the experiments of Donders and Ebbinghaus qualify as cognitive psychology experiments and are examples of early experimental research on the mind.
Despite there being a cognitive psychology at the time, Donders and Ebbinghaus are cognitive psychologists because they both study the operations of the mind.
So we could say that Ebbinghaus and Donders, who were investigating the mind in the 19th century, were basically under departments like physiology or physics because there was no department of psychology at the time.
Psychology emerged as a separate and distinct scientific discipline after William Wundt, founder of psychology, opened the world's first psychological laboratory in 1879.
So since Ebbinghaus and Donders had contributed in the field of cognitive psychology, they are now called early cognitive psychologists. In 19th century, when there was no such field as cognitive psychology, they were just called experimental psychologists.
Okay. Could you guys describe Donders' experiment and the rationale behind it?
Simple reaction time is described as reacting to the presence of, or absence of a single stimulus. Donders wanted to know how long it would take for someone to react to the stimulus at any given time.
Simple reaction time is when Donders gave his participants a button to press when they saw one light, and he measured choice reaction time by having his participants have two lights, two buttons, one for one light and one for the other to press. When the left light went off, he'd press the left button. When the right light went off, he'd press the right button. He measured mental responses by inferring them from behavior.
Okay. Could you describe Ebbinghaus' experiment and the rationale behind that?
The work of Ebbinghaus wanted to know about memory and how long it took for someone to forget something, especially nonsense syllables. He would present nonsense syllables to his participants and use a variety of time, order, and part to remember to test his memory. He also developed the savings curve, which showed how memory dropped dramatically after a few days of learning something.
Like Donders, Ebbinghaus used behavior to determine things about the mind.
What do Donders and Ebbinghaus experiments have in common?
Both measure behavior to determine a property of the mind, or both experiments inferred operations of the mind from observable reactions. Ooh, I got to. Are we done?